Body shot? Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Giga Chikadze, ninja, best striker in the UFC. I'll tell you what, folks, the man has a lot of different hats that he could wear after his stunning victory this weekend at UFC Fight Night 196. We also had the TUF 29 finale. We got a lot to talk about. Listen, I am your host, Derick G, and welcome to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. But before we get into all of this good stuff, I do need to let you know that this episode is brought to you by The Bookie, your sharp sports betting friend that sends you an email each day full of free picks, tips, tools, and strategies that you need to know for the day's games, man. I was just checking it out today, and listen, man, I don't like to watch all of the different baseball games that's going on and whatnot, but I do like to check it out, throw a couple wagers from time to time. So they'll send you the head-to-head picks, the trends. They'll let you know, hey, this pitcher has been struggling over the last couple of outings, man. You need to take the under this time around. Educated opinions all around, and listen, let me bring in my co-host AJ, because he's going to sit here and he's going to let you know what's going down with The Bookie. AJ, what's happening, brother? Tell us about The Bookie.
Man, The Bookie, I'm very happy these emails are coming in daily for me, brother. This week they're breaking down, or today, they're breaking down the San Francisco Giants versus the Atlanta Braves. And not only do they have every single, little terminology covered and the weather and everything like we were saying before, batters versus pitchers, all the gambit of the whole entire breakdown. But the cool thing, man, they give you like tips and terminology. And I heard you say earlier, Derick, that, sometimes they're telling you like it's bet the under. Some people, you don't understand what under means. Like for a second, I didn't know. I was like, all right, over, under. I kind of get the gist of it, but they don't really know. They actually break it down for you so you can legitimately know what's going on, man. And it's a really good resource so you can actually get an educated guess or an educated pick, instead of just pulling guesses out of the back pocket, man. I'm loving The Bookie, and I'm very happy they decided to partner with us, bringing you this episode, man. I love it, brother. How's The Bookie treating you?
Absolutely. It's doing just great. And like I said, it's better, or like you said, I guess we should say, it's better than talking to the homie and being like, hey, man, I just got a guess. I'm going to drop out of the hat on this one, man. Drop $10 there, homie. You know what I'm saying? Nah, listen, educated predictions all around. Shout out. Check them out. If you're a sports fan that likes to make money, you already know what to do. Head over to the Bookie newsletter at www.thebookie.co. One more time, that is thebookie.co. You see it right here on the screen. I know I got a white t-shirt, so let me move out the way real fast. Look at that. Beautiful. Bow. All right, cool, folks. But that's not what we're here for, folks. We're here to break down some mixed martial arts, man. We're here to break down the UFC. And listen, man, it was a so-so week at the office for me. 3-3 on my picks, moving me to 95-68. But AJ, man, 5-1. This close to having a perfect 6-0 record on the week, which actually has never been done on this platform before. So close to making history. Nonetheless, you move up to 76-87 on the year, man. And listen, we have a lot of different fights that we could talk about because this was a pretty stacked card, even though there weren't the most popular names. So before we talk about any of that stuff, AJ, I just want to know from you, man, have we not been like pleasantly surprised with all of these low luster cards have been like outperforming themselves? What do you think?
It seems like the sleepers or like the lackluster cards, like you said, Derick, have been actually more of a banger alert than the big names. The big names coming through seems to be making the decision, or you go into the judges and all that stuff. Whereas these ones we're not expecting, man, they're really coming through in a big way.
Absolutely, man. And I just have to say, there's one name for the judges this week that made things a little bit odd, which I always think that there's some kind of hidden conspiracy where the commission maybe says, we want to see finishes tonight. So guess what? Adelaide Bird, you're up, dog. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have you judging some fights. So that's it. When you hear the name Adelaide Bird, you got to start questioning, all right, man, I'm going to have to put my opponent to sleep if I want the win today. Thankfully, there wasn't too much crazy instances of ridiculous judging and whatnot. But nonetheless, man, I feel like this is just a reoccurring issue, man. So let's jump into a little bit of recap, my man. You know what I'm saying? So we can do all this stuff. And I'm actually, I'm going to take the best photos of the weekend, the collection and whatnot. We're going to go through these, and then I want to talk about our fighter of the night. But let's start off with the photo that we have here, AJ. You know the gist. For the folks who are listening at home, we're going to do our best to describe these photos in the utmost detail so you could visualize it, all that good stuff, just like you're reading a book. You know what I'm saying? But for the good folks who are watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's get into it, man. So This first picture that I have up here, AJ, man, this is so impressive to me because this was the Invicta FC Strawweight Championship right here. You have Emily Ducote, who is delivering a mean roundhouse kick to the dome after she froze, I believe, Danielle Taylor stiff, man, with it was like a right cross and then that left kick just to finish it, like it was a Mortal Kombat combination victory, man. Danielle Taylor is a UFC vet. Give me your take on this photo, AJ.
Derick, when I saw this, all I thought was this is the most super necessary kick to the face we have ever seen. She absolutely stiffed her. Like I think it was a right cross down the pipe, if I remember correctly. And the fighter that's getting kicked in the face, you could literally see her just hands down, stayed stiff. The picture does it exactly justice. That was the position she was frozen until she ate a shin to the face, and nothing worse than sniffing a shin on a Saturday night, brother. That one hurt right there.
I absolutely agree, man. And like I said earlier, this is just super impressive to me because of the caliber of opponent who is Danielle Taylor, man. She's fought UFC opponents before. She's been in a lot of different promotions, man. And she's a tough outing, man. And to stiff her like that, to freeze her up, it's poetry in motion, literally. I put it on my Instagram page and I said, poetry in motion, perfect execution by Emily Ducote, man. You love to see it. But then again, it made me feel like she was thinking in there. You know what I mean? There was a couple of them like the Cheyenne Bays where it just comes naturally. That leg is there where it's almost on the brink of, oh my God, that could have been an illegal shot. For this one, it looked like Ducote stiffed her, froze her, and was like, okay, we're going to kick her. Bow, you know what I mean? So if it was just a little more cohesive, even more style points, but nonetheless, beautiful, beautiful finish right there to claim the Invicta Strawweight Championship right there. So shout out to that. Now, this next photo that we have up, AJ, man, this is going to be a two-piecer right here. And listen, man, I was rooting for this guy going into this one, you know what I'm saying? But we see this time and time again, and I love it, but at the same time, it makes me feel like there's a lack of urgency going on in this fight. And what I'm talking about, folks, is you'll see the smiling Sam Alvey. And here, let me make it a little smaller so we can see you right there. The smiling Sam Alvey with a quote-unquote vagina on his cheek, a massive cut on that cheek, and he's just sticking the tongue out, having a blast while he's clinched up on the cage, back against the cage by Wellington Turman. Give me your take on this photo before we move to the next one, AJ.
I mean, there's not much to really say besides you can tell Sam Alvey's having a lot of fun. He's getting pieced up, and he was getting pieced up during the fight. He thought he won it. It's up for debate on that one, whether this one was a robbery or not. It was definitely a really good fight, but I mean, you can't hate a man that's having a good time swinging and banging in the cage, brother, especially like you said, when he has a quote unquote vagina on his face, but he still has that smile, that classic smile still going, man. I'm a fan of Sam Alvey, so I really like this. The photo's doing good.
Now, let me just ask you a follow-up question for this photo right here. Is this the appropriate response, the type of fun you should be having when you're coming off of like 5 straight losses in the octagon?
Probably not. Probably not, but at least he's having fun in there. And the worst part, he desperately needed this win. And I mean, Wellington Turman definitely didn't have a cut on his face. So I feel like a little more urgency was definitely necessary, especially if you want longevity in your career instead of just making faces and playing to the crowd a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I like the spirit of the Sam Alvey as always, but that led to this right here. And here, let me see. Photos right there. This was Sam Alvey's cut post-fight down to the cheekbone, man. This is a nasty, nasty gash that he got hit by a spinning elbow. And that's the price of having fun, I guess. You know what I'm saying, man? This is a sport where fun should be had, but also, man, this is a very dangerous game to be playing, man. So I didn't include the picture where it shows him all stitched up, man, but he had crazy stitches on his eyebrow, underneath his eye, and believe it or not, Dana White says a man like Sam Alvey, who was completely irate after the fight, who thought that he won, who was basically looked like he was about to fight the judges after his fight, and it's like, you had all that energy, how come you wasn't using it to get the finish, right? Nonetheless, Dana White said that basically this is why the man is in the UFC and this is why he will continue to get shots in here, because he fights with a passion regardless. Even though he's lost 5 in a row, he's still fighting with the fiery passion. We'll keep the man around. Don't know what it's going to take for Sam Alvey to get the boot out of the UFC, but I love the energy, man. Smiling Sam, but we can move on to the next one, AJ. I'm going to give you a content warning alert right now. Brace yourself. start rubbing your knee real quick right here, AJ. You know what I'm saying? Because this next photo right here, and it's not a crazy photo, but this is the aftermath of Jamal Emmers getting caught in a heel hook. And this is another two-parter right here, but just give me your opinion on the expression of Jamal Emmers, who was face down on the mat, knee in agony. Tell me what you think.
This one, Derick, I was on the phone with a buddy of mine when I was watching this fight, and I was literally speechless, like in awe, just like mouth wide open, couldn't understand why somebody would risk a heel hook like that. And Jamal Emmers is just in pure agony. And the worst part is in a heel hook, it's all good until it's not. And he absolutely had his entire knee just blown out and destroyed. You could even see like when they showed, I don't know if you have the picture coming up, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but either way, they showed it on the show where you saw his ligaments basically being popped from the inside of his knee. It was absolutely disgusting. And the worst / best part is his opponent was very sad, humble. Like, I don't know the best descriptive word for it, but he felt bad that he just blew out this man's knee and probably took 6 months to a year out of his life away from him.
Well, I have a silver lining for you right here. And believe it or not, Dana White has announced in the post-fight presser that Jamal Emmers suffered no structural damage found in the X-ray post-fight, which is like a miracle. However, the man still has to undergo an MRI, so then we'll see what the ligaments are looking like. But no structural bone damage on that one, which is a good thing because you never want to see something like that, but we still got to see. The man probably will be out for a while, probably will need a surgery. And the word that you were looking for, AJ, I think was remorseful. Got a sad Sabatini right here. You know what I mean? The question that I was going to ask you was, if I showed you this picture, would 10 out of 10 times you'd probably think this man just lost a fight, right? This is the face of a man, of Pat Sabatini, who just destroyed his opponent after getting rocked. So it was a comeback victory, snatched the heel hook. And the saddest part here, AJ, is that Sabatini, he even said, he was like, I was wondering why Emmers wasn't addressing his foot, man. I had a heel hook locked in. He was trying to get a toe hold. Michael Bisping on the commentary said, toe hold, schmo hold, man. That doesn't mean nothing when your knee is about to get compromised like that. It looks like it was a battle of jiu-jitsu, and Sabatini came out on top on this one. Just give me your final take on this photo.
Yeah, this was my sleeper, Derick, and nobody went to sleep, but somebody's going to be laying in a bed for a very long time. Like you said, this is a sad Sabatini after an amazing win. And yeah, man, this taught the entire world why you don't mess around with heel hooks. Somebody grabs your leg and you kick out. You get away as fast as you can, especially going toe hold, schmo hold on them. That's never a game to be playing, man.
Absolutely, man. So we can move on to the next one. But folks, remember, come on, man, just tap. And you either get your foot out of there or tap, you know what I'm saying? But don't wait until it's too late, because there is no middle ground. It is either it's not there or it's there and your knee is blown out. So, you got that to look forward to if you're rolling jiu-jitsu. Next photo that we have right here is Abdul Razak Al Hassan, man, with a picture perfect roundhouse kick to the dome that made Alessio Di Chirico fly out of the cage damn near, man. I will have to say this. For Di Chirico, it has been a story of live by the kick, die by the kick, because he just came off of a beautiful head kick knockout against Joaquin Buckley, and now he is on the tail end of that. Give me your take on this photo, AJ.
Yeah, another photo of somebody sniffing a shin on a Saturday night, and this one was rough, brother. He literally, Di Chirico was so fooled that he bent down into the kick, and ate probably one of the worst shins to the face you could eat. But in Abdul Razak Al Hassan, man, because homeboy has absolute quad squad game, and he put full effort into this. So this is another cool one because, like you said, he sent Di Chirico across the cage. He literally moved Di Chirico from mid body bent over to all the way on the other side. Like literally flipped him 180 degrees. It was a kick from hell, bro. It was a wild one. This is cool. Horrible for Di Chirico.
I absolutely agree with you, man, but I will say this was straight out of the video game. This is straight out of UFC 4 when you do a head movement and you duck out, but you duck the wrong way and get caught with the kick. You literally get knocked out immediately in the video game. This is what happened in real life. This is the real life representation of that. So I love to see when those two things collide, you know what I mean? The video game world versus the reality of the situation. I will have to say this. Just look at the form of Al Hassan, man. He's got the head up, blocking the head. He's got the full torque with the momentum of the arm. And believe it or not, Angelo Angela Hill has been getting a lot of flack because, you know, she's a Muay Thai practitioner. She's been getting a lot of flack because people have been commenting on her kicking videos talking about, oh, you keep dropping your hand, don't drop your hand. It's like, bro, y'all need to stop commenting, first off, because you don't know how to throw a proper Muay Thai kick. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get momentum into that kick. That's how you knock somebody's face off with the hips and all that good stuff. So it is funny because you don't listen to the nonsense people online, man, because this is the result that it delivers. Picture perfect form for Abdul Razak Al Hassan in a 17-second knockout, man. Beautiful to see. And then the last photo that I have here before we do a little fighter of the night stuff, AJ, is just like, this is what you want to see, right? You want to be the man standing above your opponent where they look nearly unconscious or on the brink of consciousness or whatever. But the bigger picture that I have here is this is Andre Petrovsky standing over Michael Gilmore after he got the TKO finish in the third round. However, these two fought on Team Ortega together. So I just want all that encapsulated together. Give me your take on this photo, AJ.
Yeah, it's rough when you have to do that to a teammate, and all of the finalists and everything were all fighting teammates. So, you know, that's hard, especially when you went through, I don't know how long they shot the entire series over, but it must have been a couple months at least because there was a lot of fights going on. How long was it?
1 month.
1 month. Okay,
know,
well, still 1 month.
Crazy.
I mean, 1 month with the teammate, it's not the worst. It's not like you're growing, you know, months and months and months with this dude. So it probably didn't feel that bad. But you could see on Petrovsky's face, man, he's a little cut up. It was a war in there. He was having a good time, and you know, we'll get to that one a little bit later. But this was a good fight, and this is what you want. You know, even if you are a little bloodied up and you're standing over the guy, this is what you want. I'm pretty sure he was hollering at Dana White or somebody at this point in time. Yeah, this is the classic one. This is the one that Petrovsky will hang up over his mantelpiece.
Yeah, man, and hopefully he could string a couple more wins together because the benchmark on this performance did not bode well for his chances against future legitimate UFC prospects right now, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that in just one moment. Folks, let's talk about a little fighter of the night. Why don't we? And AJ, man, if you do not mind, start us off. Who is your fighter of the night? Who had the most impressive story / performance / everything combined all into one that encapsulates the title of fighter of the night for you at UFC Fight Night 196 / the TUF 29 finale? Give me your take, boss.
Man, my fighter of the night this week is Ricky Turcios. Homeboy is an absolute dog. I was talking about it in the pre-show. We're going to talk about it later on when we get to his fight. But him and Brady Hiestand had an absolute war. I honestly had him losing the first and second, but the more Homeboy gets hit, the harder he likes to hit back, and his dog comes out to play, bro. This is not only is he a hell of a fighter and a hell of a warrior and has that warrior spirit, but he's a hell of an entertainer. Homeboy's a wild man, and I'm excited. I picked Ricky Turcios as my fighter of the night because we're going to be seeing him down the road, growing and growing and growing, and he's going to be the face of the UFC if he keeps on this winning streak. He has a personality for it. He has a drive. He has a talent. Homeboy, like I said, he's an absolute dog in the cage, and it's what we love to see, especially in this entertainment era that the UFC kind of seems to be going into. Not only can Homeboy fight, but he can bark the big game too. Man, Ricky Turcios, you got to watch out for him on the come up. He's my fighter of the night. It's all good things for Ricky Turcios coming in the future, especially if he keeps on the dub streak. Who's your fighter of the night, Derick?
All right, man. I will say that it was a very impressive pick for it, man. It's almost no other choice because of the storyline behind it, because the man made the most of his opportunity, cut the biggest promo you could cut, man, sang karaoke in the post-fight presser. Beauty to see, man. But my fighter of the night for this weekend's fights is GM3, man, Gerald Meerschaert III. And the reason why he is my fighter of the night is because, first and foremost, the man was more or less written off after he got the Khamzat Chimaev treatment, right? You're this dude, you're this submission guy, this UFC veteran, got almost 50 career fights. He went in there against Khamzat and got stiffed with one punch, let the MMA community down, let all the veterans down, came back, got a win against Fabinski, you know who I'm talking about, got the big win, got back on track, and then here we go, they set him up with another killer, a man who was on a 14-fight win streak in Makhmud Muradov, a man who is a former kickboxer, champion kickboxer, right? So what does the man do? He says, hey, man, I'm a kickboxing black belt out of Rufus Sport, right? I train under Duke Rufus. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. Most of my wins are by submission, but maybe I could strike with the man a little bit. Not only did he nearly outstrike Makhmud Muradov, but the man says, listen, he's much younger, he's much faster, much more spry, but I'm much more intelligent and I'm much more experienced. So what am I going to do? I'm going to play his game until I can get him down, get the choke in, feel him, make him weak, and then get him out of there. Biggest underdog over there of the night. And when he wins with humility, man. He wins, he comes in, he says, yeah, man, it was a fight. He was tough, he was young, he was spry, but this is what I came here to do. And he did all of that valiant effort by also sitting there and locking up the most submission wins in middleweight history with 7, and he's coming for the UFC record. To me, the storyline intertwines with the performance at a peak that is oh so beautiful because the man is in his mid-30s. He's more or less written off. People do not think of GM3 as a big name who is in title contention in the 185-pound division. Nonetheless, he shows up every single night. He even said it himself in the post-fight presser. He says he thinks he only has about 2 UFC fights out of all of his UFC fights where he hasn't been an underdog. So the more he's the underdog, the more he appreciates it and the more he wants to shut people up. And he does it with his performance and not with his mouth like us. So that's why he is my fighter of the night. Come on, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So folks, if you like the fighter of the night segment, drop a like, subscribe, and drop a comment and let us know. Let us know what's working and what's not working so we can help improve, or you could help us improve a little bit and we could help your listening experience. You dig? But with that being said, one last drop, folks. Hit the yellow notification bell when you subscribe so you know when all our videos are dropping, so you'll never miss another one of these videos that'll give you the picks that you need to make some green. You dig? Now, I did all of that promo right there for GM3, but let's actually talk about it, big dog. I thought Muradov was having him out of there early, man. He had Meerschaert in trouble, and that's even what's more impressive about this victory is that Meerschaert weathered the storm against the crazy kickboxer in Muradov, and he broke him. I honestly think that he broke him in there, man, and that's what's so impressive to me. Now, do you think, AJ, and this is a theory people are having, sometimes they say the big beard, it boosts the chin, right, on a fighter, right? You got the big beard, come on, man. You hit that thing a million times, he's just good. GM3 shaved the whole thing off, and somehow his chin went like plus 25 on the attribute points, you know what I'm saying? That skill tree got maxed out there. What do you think? You think the no beard had something to do with it?
I honestly it might have, man, because we saw Khamzat Chimaev absolutely dust him, and then the next fighter after also dusted him too until he got to Bartosz Fabinski when he was actually able to get the comeback. But I mean, it might have something to do with, you know, like the people not exactly punching all the way through because you think you're hitting the chin when you're actually hitting the beard. But man, GM3, he weathered the storm, like you said. He might have pulled out some of the old dog tricks in getting, you know, one of those illegal nut shots as well as an eye poke in there, gain a little bit of time. Because Makhmud Muradov had him basically dead to rights early in the first round, and he was walking backwards, swinging bombs. GM3 though, man, came back, bro, with literally like on the brink, crazy finish. And like you said, I do think he broke Makhmud Muradov as well. And once he was able to get the back, get the ground game going, GM3 looked like an absolute killer. And man, he's, like I said in the pre-show, man, you got to pay attention to these pre-shows, folks, because when it's GM3's night, it's his night and he's feeling good. Even if he almost gets finished, he's still feeling good, looking good, man. He plays an absolute killer of a game. I was very impressed, man. GM3, never count out the wily veteran, man. He's very wily, very scrappy. He knows how to get the win going, and we know he proved it this last fight, man. You can never count him out, Derick. It was an impressive win. What do you think?
Well, lest we forget, Makhmud Muradov had 100% takedown defense in all 3 of his UFC fights going into this one, man. So not only was GM3 doing the impressive thing of using his striking to open up the grappling opportunities in those exchanges, but he said, listen, 100% takedown defense, my ass, bro. What's up? You haven't fought me yet. You know what I'm saying? Come on. I will have to say, man, it was so impressive of an outing overall, man. Like, I cannot say that enough. I cannot emphasize that enough because, First off, you called it. I mean, I know it is cheating technically, right? But if you a vet, you know the first eye poke and the first nut shot are perfectly legal to the refs. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're Chris Tognoni, where basically, what fight was it? The Sam Alvey fight, right? Where Sam Alvey was basically like pleading, coercing him. You have to take a point, bro. And he finally took a point. And you know what I'm saying? But when that's not happening, these refs ain't doing nothing. They're letting them play. And the more you play it off, and you're like, oh no, yeah, my eye hurts a little bit. But there's the English barrier from Muradov, so maybe if he could have expressed, oh no, dude, like that was deep, my eye really hurts or something, it would have been more of a serious issue. But GM3 did the old wily vet situation, man. Yeah, like you said, man. Eye poke, nut shot, save you a little bit of time, you know what I'm saying? Regroup, come back. And he said it. He says once that he took Muradov down, he felt he was still a little wobbly, still a little weak. And he says the moment he took him down, that's his game, man. That's his whole entire territory. He came in there, sunk in the choke, and Muradov tapped. And that's the biggest thing right there. I just want a final conclusion right here, AJ, because listen, man, I firmly believe if you know that you're defeated, GSP just said something recently like this. He says if you know you're defeated, just tap. It's all good. No need to take the excessive damage on top of that. However, some of the warriors out there in the world would not agree. Do you think that you're truly giving it your complete and best effort, AJ, if you tap to a submission, or do you think he should have just went to sleep?
I think the only time you should be tapping Derick is if you're in a heel hook like Jamal Emmers. That's because that's some serious damage. He's out for 6 months to a year and a half. Homeboy's going to be taking some serious damage. If you're just going to get put to sleep, I think you just go to sleep. I mean, I think there's nothing really super wrong with it. At least the science has been proven. There's nothing super wrong with it. Obviously, if you're in a gym training, yeah, give him a tap. You're done. But if you're out there, and just it's a submission. You're just gonna go to bed, take a quick little snooze on the canvas. I think you leave it all in the cage. It's also hard to say because, man, when you're getting choked out and you're seeing the tunnel vision start to just slowly go in on you, and all those thoughts in your mind are just running through, it's hard to not tap, and it's also hard to, be a savage out there, leave it all in the cage. But I think as a top tier fighter, you got to be better than the rest of us that are just talking about it. You got to be able to leave it on the cage. And if it's life or death, and if it's, your family eating or you're not, or them not eating, you go to sleep, man. And it honestly does earn a lot of respect from everyone else too. When you say homeboy didn't tap.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. And I do think, because this is the highest of level, man. You're riding a 14-fight win streak. You're trying to get up to that title shot, do all that good stuff. Those are those situations. Any of the other situations, man, just come on. It's quick, tap, get out of there. But at the highest stakes, when this is your life, this is more than a career to you. This is your life. Yeah, you might as well. AJ, you said it the best, man. You've told me this for a long time. You always have a choice, man. And we'll just leave it at that. You always have a choice. All right, huge win by Gerald Meerschaert, man. It'll be interesting to see where that slates him now in the middleweight division. But nonetheless, let's move on to the first of I don't know what to call this, AJ, because to me, I was like, okay, the UFC is just giving him a shot. This is a UFC bout. However, they had the TUF shorts on, even though they didn't make it as finalists in TUF. It was a little confusing to me because I don't know if Andre Petrovsky, with his victory, is in the UFC or not. But nonetheless, man, let's just consider that he is. Huge win by Andre Petrovsky. TKO round 3 against Michael, the gentleman, Gilmore. But there were some revelations in this fight, AJ, man. There was some stuff that we saw here that was a little telling to me, man. And I'm a little concerned about the prospects of Andre Petrovsky because the man has a big bravado to his ring walk and how he carries himself as a mixed martial artist, but that power wrestling style really does zap out that cardio. But he said it in the post-fight presser, and he cut a really corny promo, man. But before he did that, he said something similar that Conor McGregor actually said when he was having his couple of losses back to back. He was saying when he hits about the 6-minute mark, mentally there's a switch that hits and he just kind of gasses out, just fatigues. And McGregor said something so similar, except he said it was around the 7-minute mark where his body just takes a downturn or whatever. That was really interesting to me because it sounds like he's run into this problem before. He did in The Ultimate Fighter, but it sounds like even before he's run into this problem and that he's tried to address it and he's still working on it. So that's good that you're trying to address the issues at hand, but nonetheless, you in the big show now, boy, you got to figure something out. So AJ, give me your take on the performance overall by Andre Petrovsky.
I mean, Petrovsky, he got the finish, but did he look good? Not necessarily. Honestly, I give credit to Michael Gilmore on this one, man, because he was looking a lot better than I thought. I thought he was going to get taken out in the first grappling style, but Michael Gilmore came to play, man. Andre Petrovsky, definitely, he has that bravado, like you said. He talks a lot of shit in the cage, so he's fun to watch. But when you have a gas tank issue, you can only talk so much before people start realizing, like, oh, he's just going to burn himself out in the first 6 minutes. He already knows he's going to. He's got not necessarily a quitter's mentality, but a defeatist mentality where he already has a built-in excuse that he's going to get tired of the 6 minutes. So, I just got to last to round 2. I just got to deal it out to round 2 and I can get the dub. Michael Gilmore was pretty close to it. I mean, not necessarily he didn't have Andre Petrovsky hurt. He didn't have Andre Petrovsky out in the finish, but he had the chance to win for sure. I'm a little concerned with Petrovsky's going forward in the future, just strictly because I don't know if he needs to drop weight or he needs to, find some newfound cardio or whatever the case may be. But he definitely has a big hole in his game when you can just survive for a little bit. And then, this dude's out. He's basically out in his feet. He's not going to be throwing with the power he has. You just got to be able to get him out of there after that. Overall, good fight. Not bad. We did see some good, some bad out of both fighters. I don't know if Petrovsky is in the UFC, but to me, this one felt like Dana White or the choosers of the organization likes Petrovsky, liked him a lot, see that he's a really good visual for the fight game, and thought, you know what, let's throw him in. It's all good,
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, man. I will say that it did seem to be that the wrestling is his bread and butter, but setting up the wrestling seems to be a little bit of an issue. And Tatiana Suarez, she said it herself. She says every time she watches Petrovsky strike, she cringes, you know what I mean? And not in a way where it's like it's terrible striking, but the footwork isn't there. Like he throws whether his feet are underneath him or not, you know what I'm saying? So clearly there's some fundamentals that need to be worked on right there to supplement the wrestling game, man, because he's a killer wrestler, man. That power wrestling is absolutely no joke. You saw he was just picking up Gilmore, taking him to the middle of the cage and dropping him down. It was super duper impressive to see that. But that is a very tiring approach, so your gas tank has to be ready. Nonetheless, you were right, man. Michael Gilmore and those calf kicks are no joke, man. This dude's got nasty leg kicks, but he does need to work on that ground game a little bit. Overall, I'm interested to see how Petrovsky does. There's not too much to say on this matchup in its entirety, but we need to talk about what that promo that he cut, AJ. The man seems to me, AJ, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it seems like he's thought this out way too much. He wasn't living in the moment. He had a plan, a scripted plan, and it needed to go the way that it needed to for everything to work out. And sometimes life doesn't work out that way. So what did he say? He says, someone called Jeff Bezos because the next person who's stepping in here with me, I'm sending them into orbit. But you know what I'm saying? I need to get one of them little if he said something like that at an open mic, do you think he's getting booed or what are we talking about here?
Oh, crickets, brother, crickets. Yeah, and you could definitely tell that it was set up. And I'm actually a fan. I tell them all, I think you need to have that plan going in that you already won, so you know the promo you're gonna cut. Like we were saying before in another episode, you need to know you're the champ before you ever become the champ. So you need to know you're gonna win that fight way before you ever even step into the cage. So cut a promo. But come on, man, if you're gonna say something like that, get some writers. You're at the top of the league. You can't be cutting a corny joke like that. As funny as corny jokes can be, there's a time and a place, and it's not inside the ring in front of millions of people watching for your first time ever cutting a promo. That one's getting crickets.
Yeah, pretty rough, man. And I will say that Paul Felder was like, all right, man, well, now's your time to shine. Who you want? And he was all like, I don't know, but whoever steps in there with me next, they're getting sent into orbit. It's like, bro, you blew your shot right there. Tercios, he did the exact opposite, man. He took advantage of that thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But big win for Andre Petrovsky, man. Let's see how he does in the UFC coming up forward, man. I'm a fan because this did feel like a contender series matchup to me, man. And, contender series is back now that TUF is done, so I'm excited to see it. But big win. This next fight right here, AJ, we both called it right here, and it seems like people weren't seeing what we were seeing, but this is a clear tendency, a clear path to victory for Daniel Rodriguez, but this is kind of the same story written over and over again for Kevin Lee, man. I always say it. First round, Kevin Lee is one of the most dangerous men on the planet. Round and a half, actually. Second and a half to the end of the things start falling off. Things start getting weird, and D-Rod said it himself in the post-fight presser. He says, yeah, after I survived the first round, I knew he was done. This dude, I already heard he has you said it earlier, it's interesting, a defeatist mentality. Never really heard something like that, but that's basically the story of Kevin Lee, right? Where if things start going in a bad way, in a negative trajectory, he doesn't really have the mental fortitude to turn things back around, flip it back around. Now he did against, what's the fight where he did the chicken dance? He did the chicken dance in this fight, but he did the chicken dance where he got caught with the head kick, but he ended up winning the fight.
I believe it was Barboza.
It was Barboza, yeah. But I think he won that fight still, regardless, right? So he did it there, but it's like, man, you could beat the Barbozas of the world. He got like big wins over a couple different names, but then you lose to Daniel Rodriguez on 2 weeks' notice. It's interesting, nonetheless. But give me your take overall, man. Daniel Rodriguez looked so impressive, but I'm curious to know, do you think Kevin Lee looked, how did he look? Man, 17 months off, you know what I'm saying? Did he look like the Kevin Lee of old? Give me your take.
He looked more like the Kevin Lee of old than the Kevin Lee that fought Gregor Gillespie. And it might have just been because he got Gregor Gillespie out of there in the first round, so that's why he was looking like an absolute savage. But I was honestly expecting a little bit more out of Kevin Lee. It was pretty, a little back and forth, definitely to start, but then D-Rod just started taking over, started putting that pressure on him, and it kind of went how we were saying it was going to go. Like you said, Kevin Lee hit a chicken leg dance for the second time, but he survived it. He was able to survive it instead of getting knocked out, which, I mean, all credit to Kevin Lee. Most of the time when all of us started hitting the chicken leg in the gym, we just stopped. We're done after that. We're going to sleep. It's you're basically dead to rights. But man, like I said, I don't think Kevin Lee, there's something with him, and he's probably another one of those fighters we were talking about in the pre-show where it's either his night or it's not. He's either game and he's a dog and he's going to fight, or he's just going to go out there and perform, and it's just a bout instead of an actual scrap. Kevin Lee looked really good in the first, didn't really kind of petered off towards that, and I do think it's a mentality issue for Kevin Lee, not necessarily a skill issue. Give him the mentality of, any GSP or any of these Michael Bisping, somebody who's an actual dog in there and actually able to mentally overcome things. And I think he's an absolute superstar. That being said, his mentality does, you said, you quoted me saying a defeatist mentality, and he really does have that game where his mind kind of falters first before his skills, and it's sad to see because this very much so, even though we're scrapping hands and feet, it's a mental game in there and it's a mental warfare. And we even saw with another fight we'll talk about in a bit with the Tercios Hiestand fight, round 1 and 2, those were about, Brady Turcios, in my opinion, was doing a lot better. And then the dog came out, and that's when it was a fight. And it seems like when the fight happens, Kevin Lee kind of falters. It's sad to say, and he's definitely, I thought he was going to be looking a lot better with the TriStar logo behind him. Rough to see, but all credit to D-Rod, man. He put out a show and he didn't falter one bit, kept the energy up, and looked really good in there. What do you think?
Absolutely. No, I agree with you, man. Now, ultimately, this is the question we have to ask. Can you ever, can people downplay, can you sleep on Daniel Rodriguez at this point? I feel like now he is broken clear into the realm of top 15 welterweights, right? But then again, Kevin Lee, I mean, he's not a welterweight, bro. That size was pretty apparent, especially round 2, round 3, when Rodriguez was able to just kind of push him away, get off of me, bro. You saw that size was a real difference. And Kevin Lee in the weigh-ins called Daniel Rodriguez little. He was like, oh, you looking up at him. He was like, oh, you little. You know what I'm saying? And D-Rod said, oh, I had a little chip on my shoulder because he said that. He was like, he must have forgot I was dehydrated, bro, because I was way heavier come fight night. You know what I'm saying? So just answer that just in a simple, quick sentence for me. Can you sleep on Daniel Rodriguez ever again at this point?
Unfortunately, I think he left the door open to be slept on a little bit because he was very much the bigger fighter, and he did not put Kevin Lee away even after he gave him the chicken legs. So maybe a little bit. We might see a little bit of sleep on him. I'm not going to be sleeping on D-Rod anymore. I think he's an absolute killer in there, but I can see the casuals doing it for sure.
Yeah, well, clearly we both picked Rodriguez to win, so we saw something that most people didn't because Kevin Lee finished as a betting favorite. But I will say the door is open for interpretation. So D-Rod maybe have to get another one against a ranked one to finally get the big win, kind of like how Chikadze had to finally get over Barboza. For now, people are like, okay, you can't doubt the man anymore. But nonetheless, big win for D-Rod. And let's move on to the TUF finales, AJ. So I'm going to open up this photo first before I bring up the graphic. But listen, man, this didn't make it into my photo collection because I wanted to use it specifically for here. Not only is Tercios praising the sun, not only does he have the TUF trophy in his hand, but he gets his black belt at the same time. And what's so crazy to me about this photo, AJ, is I felt like Tercios was so in the moment. He was so connected with the higher power that he didn't even realize that he got his black belt. It didn't even seem like he even knew that he got his black belt. He was just too in the moment. That's the difference between the Petrovsky promo cut and what Tercios did. Is the man is the living, walking definition of free spirit, in the moment, freestyle fighter, man. So just give me your take on the photo, and then we'll break it down.
Oh man, I mean, normally we have a little bit of guff going forward whenever the fighters get their black belt and they didn't really put on a jiu-jitsu show, but he did really well. I'm cool with this one. I like the photo, and like you said, this is pure in the moment. He was not here in the realm. He was above things, man. He was looking at it from above. This is flow state to its greatest, and that's really what it came down to. I was telling it to you, man. The more he gets hit, the better he starts to do. And really, when that scrap became a fight, or that bout, the bout match became a fight, Ricky Turcios shined, man, and he did really well. The decision, it could be weighed one way or the other, depending. I might have to watch the fight again to really see if I was being unbiased and giving Brady the first and the second. Maybe the judges are weighing the third round a little harder, but this is a great fight, a great photo, and this is what you want. Like you said, man, this is the biggest difference between him and Petrovsky, because he actually was legitimately in the moment, feeling that flow state. And like I said, man, big things for Ricky Turcios coming, especially if he stays true to who he is and stays true to what got him to the big show, man.
Absolutely, man. So, I mean, you basically wrapped it all up right there, but I will have to shed a little bit of light on Brady Hiestand. It's actually Hiestand, not Hiestand. The light that I have to shed is this man is 22 years old, and he looks like he's ready for the UFC, bro. At least against Tercios, which is a very interesting matchup, because if you're not a very technical, skilled fighter, you fight Tercios fight. I think against more technical, experienced UFC actual talents, Tercios might not have the same level of success, because you can't get in those dogfights like that all the time, you know what I mean, and expect to win, because this was a very close matchup. But Hiestand, man, that sick jitsu camp right there with Michael Chiesa, that his grappling is so on point, dude. This dude is so game, so ready, and it sucks that anybody had to lose. But Dana White even said it himself. He says, yeah, man, we think we're going to team up with the matchmakers, and we're going to give him another shot. We're going to go and give him another opponent right there. So listen, man, I just have to say this. Regardless that it's being drowned out by the spotlight of Ricky Turcios, man, I could actually see Brady Hiestand becoming a legit contender at bantamweight with that grappling. Now, I do think got to get the hands up a little bit a little nicer, you know what I'm saying? But like, dude, he is like smothering. It felt like it was a mini Michael Chiesa. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty much dead on, especially since the fact that they trained together. So I'm sure some of those characteristics rubbed off a little bit. But I was very impressed by Hiestand. I was very impressed by Hiestand. I was messing up his last name all the time, but no, he looks really, really good. And like I said, man, I gave him the first and second. I thought he did really, really well. He earned it, and I'm very glad to hear that Dana White and them are going to give him a shot again, because I do think he earned it.
Exactly. I think the biggest difference here, and this is something that we've debated time and time again, right? Not us, me and you, but just has been debated in the scoring, methodologies, right? Hiestand was grabbing these takedowns, and he was really getting them locked down, but you got to do something with it. When you get a takedown and you're getting elbowed in your face a million times and all that stuff, getting all cut up and whatnot, Tercios is throwing up submission attempts and all that. It just doesn't really look good on you. You got to do something with your takedown. The dominant position isn't enough to get the actual round, depending on who's judging. Hopefully, Adelaide Bird wasn't judging this fight, so shout out to that one. But huge win for Ricky Turcios, who is the TUF 29 Bantamweight Champion, man. Praise the sun, praise the higher powers and all that, man. He put on a "I want peace on earth" promo at the end of the thing and everything, man. It's a beautiful thing, and you will see a lot more of this man in the near future. But I think we can move on, man. Very valiant effort by both fighters. Now, another photo that is precluding or whatever you want, previewing, whatever. This is Bryan Battle, man. He's just kissing that trophy right there and going hand in hand. And look at Dana White. Dana White looks like he's in the background just so happy. So does Bruce Buffer. Like, they're just looking at him like, yeah, man. Not only was he the last pick on Team Volkanovski at TUF 29, but he also said it himself in the post-fight presser. He says, it was iffy, man. I wasn't even guaranteed that I would even be able to fight on the Ultimate Fighter, that I'd even have a spot there. But I told him, dude, as long as y'all pick me, I'm going to win it all. Trust me, right? right? And listen, this is a dude who doesn't have the physique that would, he's got an unassuming physique, right? He doesn't look like the dude who would be the champion in the middleweights. Obviously, most people thought Petrovsky or Gore or whatever was going to win it, but look at, we got Bryan Battle, aka Pooh Bear, sitting there with the big dub. He's the champ. Come on, man. Give me your take on the photo before we break it down.
Oh man, the exuberance, bro. Like, look how happy he is. And another thing, hitting the final nail on the coffin. You have to know you're the champ before you're the champ. Bryan Battle knew he was gonna win it all even before he got to the show. Yeah, it's a feel good story. Pooh Bear is probably the best nickname I've heard for him. He looks like Pooh Bear. That is absolutely hilarious. And yeah, man. I mean, great photo. There's nothing like, literally, he's kissing that thing like it's his baby. Like, it's literally everything he's wanted. It's good to see. It's heartfelt, and I'm excited to see where Bryan Battle goes in the future.
Absolutely. So let's just actually talk about the matchup real fast, because I'm not going to lie to you, AJ. This is one of those moments where, I was hyping it up a little bit on the show, but I kept this one to myself, right? I threw $100 on Gilbert Urbina to get the win over Bryan Battle. Came so close, man. Took the fight on 10 days notice, man. He came out like a what do you call those things, man? I'm blanking on it. It's one of these little animals, like a hedgehog or something like that. He came out crazy, like a,
Cobra?
something like that, right? But he came out like a bat out of hell, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get the submission over Battle. He hurt him early, got a crazy hematoma on the side of his eye, a nice little shiner. And he almost got the job done, but almost doesn't count unless you throwing grenades or playing horseshoes, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, you got to feel for Gilbert Urbina on this one, right? Not only did he get the second chance right here, but this is the third brother to not quite get it done, to make the finale and not quite get it done. I feel for the man, but I think this will only make him a better person, man. Not losses, only lessons. But how impressive did Urbina look before actually getting finished in the second?
Oh, super impressive. I was blown away with how Urbina looked. Way better than I was expecting, especially off of 10 days notice, man. Gilbert Urbina, he's a savage. Like, he's literally in there for the win, for the grit, for the grind, for the glory. Homeboy is really, really good too, man. It's like, not only does he have that warrior mentality and that warrior passion, but he has a skill set to go through it as well. And like you said, he almost had Battle out. He almost had it. He was that damn close, but horseshoes and hand grenades. You said it best, Derick. Yeah, and especially in this game, when you got grenades in your hands, literally, like, dude, Urbina looked really, really good overall, man. I was impressed with it.
I agree, man. And I will have to say, this is one of those situations where I hope that Urbina can get a shot at the Dana White's Contender Series to then hopefully catapult himself into the UFC. Have to prove himself once again on the chopping block. But nonetheless, man, huge win for Bryan Battle. I will have to say that... listen, man, this is Cinderella's story. This is Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner right there. This is something cut from that cloth. And Bryan Battle should have a bright future in the UFC. Nonetheless, I do think that they need to build him up correctly, and they should not feed the man to the wolves, because things can get dangerous if that's the way that we're going to go. But we'll talk matchmaking in a second. All right, AJ, let's talk about the main event. Giga the Ninja Chikadze gets the TKO round 3 victory over Edson Barboza, man. You called it. And I didn't want to believe it, man. I didn't want to buy into the hype of Giga Chikadze. I was already singing the man's praises, but I say Edson Barboza is getting the Jose Aldo treatment. However, there was one thing that I said in the pre-show that I think alluded to how this fight played out. And I said it was going to be somewhat similar to Casey Kenny versus Song Yadong, where Casey Kenny, he has to sit down on his shots to really be effective, and Song Yadong used that to his advantage and just picked him apart every time he sat down. It seemed like the same exact thing happened here, except the difference was I got to eat some crow. I said, Giga Chikadze, you really only need to worry about the feet and the legs because the hands aren't really doing it. And he said it in the post-fight presser. He says, yeah, man, I was doing all these kicks. I was smacking them to the liver, doing all that stuff. And then I almost forgot about my hands until I said, wait, hold on. I got bombs here too. Come on, you know what I'm saying? He started letting the hands go, and that's what got the job done right there. But comment really quickly, AJ, because this is something that I predicted a little bit. I said that what happens when Chikadze hits Barboza with the liver kick, and Barboza says, all right, what's next? What else you got? Because that's exactly what happened right there. Just give me your take on that.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened right there. And not only did once Chikadze hit Barboza with the liver kick and Barboza just ate it, Barboza gave him one right back, and it hurt Chikadze. He started turning. He started, retreating. I was like, oh shit, Giga just got the Giga treatment. Damn, like I was literally watching the fight, like, oh what? Like I did not expect that to happen at all. Giga looked like he was hurting. He was feeling it for the first time. Like, damn, somebody else kicked me where I kick everyone else, man. A little taste of his own medicine. It was absolutely very surprising.
Yeah, man. I will have to say that it seems to be the case that people, even though they know when Giga goes southpaw, you know what's coming, and nobody could stop it. Barboza had a little bit of success in the first round where he was checking it, right? They were both checking all of each other's kicks, right? But you can't do that for 5 rounds. You know what I mean? After a while, you're going to start getting tired. You're not going to be as quick, and that kick is going to land in there. He did say Barboza felt he's the biggest, strongest dude that he has fought in the UFC so far. But overall, man, Chikadze looked clinical. He looked surgical, and he looked ready for the moment, man. He said it time and time again. He was supposed to get a top 5. He took Barboza because he's a big name. And he says it's Giga time, man. Like, come on, jump on the train. Let's rock. Let's get it. I do think, and I said it before, I do think Giga will be a champion one day, man. I didn't think he'd be able to get past the test of Edson Barboza, but he did. And he drops Barboza down to 2-2 in the featherweight division, man, which is really, really interesting. Nonetheless, there's a lot of different places the man can go, and his ground game was a little impressive too, because we both said, no, we don't think this one's going to the ground. And I asked you, I said, what are the chances that this does, right? And what happens? Giga actually initiated the ground game, not because he was hurt, but because Barboza was hurt, and he decided he was trying to get the choke. Shout out to Benny Dariush, didn't get the job done, but he got the TKO finish. I just want you to comment lastly, man. Do you think it was a little bit of an early stoppage?
Slightly, yes. I definitely think there was a chance where if it would have been stopped either a little earlier, I would have been like, oh, okay. Like he was basically out. He was hurt, but he gave him that extra split second, and Barboza started to stand up and looked really good. He looked in it, so I would say early stoppage. Like it was right there. Another thing though, you don't want to take too much damage. But I think it was right there where you could have let it go. What do you think?
Well, once again, this is why the referees, they got the hardest job in the game, right? Because if you're a good referee, nobody's supposed to know who you are. If you're a bad referee, then everybody knows who you are, right? But I will say, I thought it was a tad bit early. However, I do think that all we were doing was prolonging the inevitable. I thought that the fight probably would have got finished regardless. Giga, the momentum had shifted at the end of the first round, and it was all Giga from there. Listen, man, this is a huge win by the Ninja, Giga Chikadze, and now he claims the title as the best striker in the UFC, and he calls out Max Holloway because Max Holloway says he's the best boxer. He says, well, guess what? Boxing is a part of striking, so let's find out who's really the best striker. So far, Giga claims the throne. He's on a 9-fight win streak, dude. You know what I mean? This is his 3rd TKO victory in a row, and he is now 7-0 in the UFC, which is so impressive. Not nearly the killer hit list that Barboza has under his belt, but he's racking them up now. Cub Swanson and Edson Barboza back-to-back is no easy task, and I think Swanson had never been finished that way prior to Giga putting it on him like that. So super duper impressive, man. My question to you is, I already said it myself, I proclaimed it, but do you, AJ, think that Giga Chikadze is going to be a future champion in the featherweight division?
Oh yeah, 100%. Without a doubt. I think Giga not only has the mindset, but he has the skill set to be able to do it. And man, those kicks and that striking or something else. But like you said, we were able to see a little bit of ground game from Giga, man. That ground game was on point. He was looking good. He didn't get trapped in anything super crazy. I see a gold belt wrapped around Giga's waist, and especially in the 145-pound division, bro. This is going to be crazy to see Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, Alexander Volkov, Brian Ortega. Like, there's so many interesting fights going forward, and I definitely think Giga's going to be in the mix and one of the top dogs, a champion soon enough, maybe within the next year or two. I think it's going to be a quick rise for Giga, and hopefully he's able to defend it for quite a while, man. It's I'm excited to see. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I agree. The only question that I have, man, is what happens when he fights a power wrestler, man, because I don't think we've really seen that yet. Like a power wrestler who could strike too, like a Volkanovski, basically. What happens when a Volkanovski who stays in your face, who basically, so Chikadze, one of his keys to victory against Barboza is he crowded Barboza, and that's what you need. Barboza likes to set it up with rhythm and timing, and he likes to have space so he could jump in, hit you with a kick. I don't know if you saw, but in the beginning, he was trying to land those calf kicks, and Chikadze just kept the distance, like a karate striker does. You know what I mean? It was almost perfect. So matchups mean everything, right? I mean, there's a reason why Holloway lost to Volkanovski twice, arguably. But ultimately, man, a win is a win is a win. And Giga Chikadze, man, now he jumps up. Hopefully, he gets someone in the top 5. Nonetheless, he should move up the rankings. And I think that we can call it with that one, folks. So I do just want to say, man, we had 5 upsets on this card. About 42% of the total fights, of the 12 total fights, were upsets. So shout out to that. 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 5 decisions on the card. So this was overall a really, really good card. And let me just shout out, fight of the night was Tercios versus Hiestand, which is like crazy because they don't get 50K bonus. Did you know that, AJ?
I didn't know that, but that sucks because they put on a scrap.
Dana White, he was like, I'm going to give them something. They're not going to be disappointed, but nah, they ain't getting 50K. And it makes me wonder, I didn't know that was written into the TUF finale rules. It just kind of seems like a short end of the stick right there. But nonetheless, performance of the night goes to Abdul Razak Al Hassan with the 17-second KO. GM3 Gerald Meerschaert with that submission victory. Giga Chikadze, of course, with that clinical finish over Barboza, and Pat Sabatini with the heel hook finish in the first round over Jamal Emmers. Man, huge wins overall. Yeah, man. So great night of fights overall, I do have to say. So folks, drop a like, subscribe if you like the fights that went down. If you love the breakdown, all that good stuff, because what we about to do next is we about to put on our fortune teller hat and we about to go predict the future real fast, you dig? So let's do it, AJ. A little bit of matchmaking. I think we could run through these ones pretty quickly, man, because listen, a lot of these are very straightforward. There's some of them where you could go wherever you wanted to go, but a lot of these are pretty straightforward. So let's start out with GM3 in the middleweight division, man. He came in around number 24. He jumps up to number 20, and it's about a four spot jump up right there, man. And I have somebody who would be a really clear test, and it would be young versus old, and I don't want to say it first. So you go first, AJ. You tell me who you got, because I think that we're not going to be on the same page with all of these picks. I think we're not going to have the same one on any of these, but let's find out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think on this one, GM3 has solidified himself as the gatekeeper in the middleweight division. So I think he does need to fight either somebody young on the come up, especially if he wants to fight up. So I have an up and a down pick, but I'm going to give you my up pick. I want to see him fight Brendan Allen. Brendan All-In Allen. I think this would be a good scrap. Brendan Allen is very well versed up and down on the feet, whether it's in the ground game, and I think it's a good test for him. He is ranked higher than GM3, so it might not be, play out to how the management might not want it to play out. But as far as skill set and test-wise, I think that's a great test for both fighters. Who's your pick?
That is a really good one, man, and I like that. And that's kind of in the same cloth of the one that I'm going. But I'm going against somebody who just defeated a legend, somebody who's got a ridiculous amount of submissions under his belt. 14 submissions, if we're being specific right here. 3 of his last 5 wins have come via submission. 20-1-4 surgeon contender, and he's number 15 ranked Andre Muniz. He just snapped Jacare Souza's arm, and now I think going for GM3 would be the perfect matchup, because let's may the best grappler win, man. That's literally what I got on this one. I think that for Muniz, it would be one of those, like, he wouldn't probably want to take the fight because he's like, give me somebody who's actually ranked. Like, I'm ranked, I got a number next to my name. But I think that this is one of those classic, hey, I want your number. What are you going to do about it? You know what I'm saying? Because GM3, man, he says he's on the tail end of his career, but he has no plans of retiring anytime soon. And all that means is he's trying to go forward, man. What you think of that one?
I like that one too. Yeah, it's just, I think that's where GM3 needs to fight, man. He's an older dog in the game. He's solidified himself as a gatekeeper, and we're going to have to see him fight these young dudes that are really in the mix. So yeah. I like him.
Absolutely, man. So shout out to that one. But Bryan Battle, the TUF 29 middleweight champion, excuse me. Believe it or not, man, this dude came in at number 139, and he fought a Gilbert Urbina who was number 193. So he gets no change right there, and he's up there, dude. There's not a lot of UFC fighters that are that far down the list. But let's talk about it, AJ. Who do you have for this one? Could have gone anywhere.
Yeah, these two TUF, the 3 TUF Ultimate Fighter, and they won their match, was very hard to choose. I was trying to find like a good matchup, somebody that's gonna give him a good test. Unfortunately for this one, I was thinking you got to give somebody that's on the L streak. I do like putting winners with winners, but sometimes it's hard. So I want to see Bryan Battle versus Dustin Stoltzfus. They're both very low on the map, but it's going to be a good fight, especially Stoltzfus. He's coming off those L's. So it's kind of a do or die situation, especially for somebody who's so unassuming like Bryan Battle. What do you think?
Well, listen, I guess this is the one that we do agree on because that's who I had as well. And believe it or not, I actually matched up Andre Petrovsky with Stoltzfus first, but then I figured, well, Battle already beat Petrovsky, so I should favor him, even though Petrovsky has got a higher ranking, you know, all the MMA math and all that, right? So then I switched the pick, and then I put Stoltzfus for Bryan Battle because I think that would be a great matchup. I mean, Stoltzfus, he's a German wrestler, man. This dude's got legit grappling chops. He's been on the short end of the stick for his last 2 bouts, 2-fight losing streak, but nonetheless, man, this will determine really like if Battle belongs in the UFC, you know what I'm saying? Like fighting a dude like Stoltzfus. So I agree with that one, but I really think you could have gone anywhere with that one. To a degree, I kind of think Stoltzfus is a little too much of a test for the first fight in the UFC personally, but it would be a fun fight. So I'm glad we're in consensus with that one. Now let's talk about Andre Petrovsky then, since we're both in consensus with Stoltzfus. Andre Petrovsky came in at 118, and he fought Michael Gilmore, who was ranked 187. So there's no change there either. And I got one who I almost guarantee you're not going to have on this one. But who do you have for Andre Petrovsky? Who is Andre Petrovsky going to send into orbit? We're going to have to call Jeff Bezos real fast. You know what I'm saying? Who you got?
This one is another one where I had a hard time choosing, but I do think if he's going to send anyone into orbit, it needs to somebody who has a big hole in their game and who likes to leave their chin up high. You might already know who I'm talking about. I want to see him fight Dusko Todorovic. Yeah. They're both kind of, you know, like on the come up. Dusko needs something big, and Petrovsky is a great wrestler who's able to get it done. So I think it's an interesting fight going forward. I have another pick as well, just because these ones are hard, man. So we could go anywhere with these. But who's your pick?
So my pick is going to be 100 number ranked 104. Sapabeg, I'm gonna mess up the name. Safarov, you know who I'm talking about though. Safarov is the man. He's a 9-3 vet, 1-3 in the UFC. So this is why I wanted to match them up. But he has really good grappling, and this would be a solid introductory test for Petrovsky into the UFC. Personally, you know what I mean. Fight a dude who's experienced, who can match up your grappling, because you're the young gun. You're supposed to be outpowering these dudes. You're supposed to be over here power wrestling this, that, and the other. Let's see what you could do against Safarov. And this is a man who really needs a win because his back is against the wall, man. Another loss, he's probably out of there. If he's not already out of there, because there's no bout agreements with him set up or anything. So I don't really know what the status is currently, but I do think it would be a good one. Did you see that one coming or what?
I saw his name on the list. And like I said, there's so many people we could have gone with this one as well. I also had Jacob Malkoun. Same reason. He's on to the L's. Be a good fight. But yeah.
I think Malkoun, I think Malkoun would win that one, man. Malkoun is no slouch, dude. You know, he trains over there with Izzy Adesanya, right? Over there at City Kickboxing, you know? So shout out to that, man. But okay, that's for the middleweights, excuse me, folks. Let's move on to welterweight, where we only got one bout. Number 21 ranked Daniel Rodriguez. I think he breaks into the top 15. He's ranked number 15 in my own personal ranking, so this was no surprise to me personally. But I don't know where he's going to go, but he's number 15 unofficially for me. So who do you have for this one, man? Because you could give him a big test. You could make him fight backwards. Some might believe he's not ready for the top 15, even though he beat Kevin Lee, because he's not a real welterweight. Kevin Lee is officially 0-2 at welterweight, so it's not the biggest benchmark to have. But who do you think?
This one's actually very interesting because I do think D-Rod does need a big test to get him out of that sleeper zone, you know, out of that zone where people are really starting to underestimate him. I want to see him against the star Sean Brady. He's on an absolute killer of a roll. I think it'd be a good fight, good test, and Sean Brady might get it done. We don't know, man. It's a good fight. What do you think? Who's your guy?
So I actually had the same one, Sean Brady, right there. So I guess we agree more often than not. Great minds think alike, right? But the reason why is because he was the odd man out. You know, he has the foot infection, you know, hopefully that he's recovering very well from that. But I figured that if Kevin Lee was supposed to fight Sean Brady, who's 14-0, undefeated, man, this dude is legit. This would be a good welcoming test into the top 15 for Daniel Rodriguez, a real welcoming test, because Sean Brady, man, this dude has shown that like he has real chops and he can overcome adversity. Even when he's almost out of there, hurt, almost out of there, he can still come back, and he has the grip, he has the heart, he has the determination, and D-Rod has that as well. So let's see who's the bigger dog. Zhang. So I think that'd be a really, really interesting matchup. However, I don't know, man, because D-Rod's probably going to be the bigger man in that fight too. You know what I'm saying? But it should still be a good contest either way. So I guess we can just chalk that one easy for welterweight. D-Rod has a lot of options there. I just hope they give him the top 15 because that's not guaranteed whatsoever. It is for us, but not for the UFC brass. And then lastly, your TUF 29 Bantamweight Champion, Ricky Turcios, man. Pretty Ricky, Hadouken, whatever you want to call him. He said he went Super Saiyan 3, you know what I'm saying? Level 3 or whatever. I don't watch that much Dragon Ball Z, so I don't even know what level that is. But I got a banger of a matchup for him. Now, he came in at 176, believe it or not. Super. That just shows you how deep bantamweight is right now. And he fought Brady Hiestand, who is ranked 256. So before we do the matchup, is that not crazy? Hiestand was ranked 256, and he put on that performance? Come on, bro. What are we talking about? Tell me what you think about that, and tell me who do you have for Ricky Turcios?
Well, just first off on that, man, that is absolutely crazy that they're that deep that they almost have, they probably have 300 plus fighters ranked. Like, that's insane to keep track of that many people. And I know it's not all in the UFC. It's, you know, it's a mix of everything, but that many fighters in the bantamweight division is absolutely insane. Me personally, this is another hard one to choose because you can, when he's 100 and plus, 150 plus, I forgot the exact number he was, but you can basically go anywhere with this one. There's a couple fighters. Some people might not even know the crazy thing. They're that deep, but I want to see him fight Draco Rodriguez. Draco, I think he's a fun nickname like the Great Dracoini or something like that. He's on a couple L's going forward. It's not the hardest test, but I want to see somebody who also has that grit, and that's what Draco has, man. He has a warrior spirit. It'd be a very interesting fight against Tercios. It's a lot of fun. Who do you think? Who's your guy?
Well, I like that pick too, and I'm going with one that's it's so similar to that in the sentiment that you're bringing to it. I think Draco Rodriguez would be a super fun fight, man, but I think you got to give Tercios nothing but fun fights, given that he's broke onto the scene the way he has. So I want to give him someone where you want to talk about a dog, you want to talk about someone with heart. That's the only reason the man got signed to the UFC, and his name is Chris Moutinho, and I want him to fight Ricky Turcios. So he just got beat up by Sugar Show Sean O'Malley, right, for 3 rounds, and somehow, some way was upset that he got the TKO finish, even though a loss is a loss, bro. He was going to lose either way. I get you don't want to be finished, but he was going to lose either way. So take that heart and that determination and channel it into a victory if you can against pretty Ricky Turcios, man, because you're going to need to channel the energy from the earth. You're going to need to praise the sun, do the whole entire 9 to get a win against this, man. You saw it. Tercios was in the cage talking about, like, looking up, pointing to the ground, talking all crazy. Oh, man, it was beautiful to see, but I think that would be a banger because Chris Moutinho, I just need to point this out. I want him to fight Ricky Turcios next, regardless if he wins or loses in his fight against Aaron Phillips on October 23rd, because he already has a bout lined up. So I think it'll just be an absolute blood and guts fight, personally, and it will determine who's the biggest warrior on this stage. So what do you think about that, AJ?
Yeah, man, I think that's a bloodbath waiting to happen, to be honest, man, because they're both dogs. Oh man, Chris Moutinho, he's he took a pretty big L, and we'll see how his next fight goes. You can't count out that he has an absolute dog of a heart, and yeah, I think that's a good one. And I don't think so. I was a little worried that you give somebody give Ricky Turcios an absolute dog in the UFC. It's just going to be too much for him, and we're going to lose that steam. It's going to fizzle out too quick. But that skill set lines up pretty nicely, as well as that's a bloodbath waiting to happen, man.
Exactly. So, I think it'll be a good stock for both fighters, man. And like I said, it's just a very fun fight. But yeah, you're right, man. Maybe it's not the right approach to take. Maybe you should build him up a little bit more, but we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Chris Moutinho, I think he came on literally for heart and blood and guts, not necessarily skill level personally. No offense to anybody. I mean, he's much more skilled than I am. I'm just saying, in relative to the competition that you're facing in the UFC. Nonetheless, man, that's the matchmaking for UFC Fight Night 196 / the TUF 29 finale, man. Shout out to that. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, folks. BloodyWaterPodcast.com. Hit us up on Instagram, Bloody Water Podcast, and on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. But let's hit the news wire before we get out of here, AJ, man. There's only a couple things that I wanted to talk about in relation to what's happening in the virtual streets these days. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing that I got is I just need a quick take from you on this one, and this is from Twitter. This is at Peter Yan UFC. UFC 267 bout agreement signed. Time to return what's mine. No games with my prey this time. End quote. Give me your take on that.
I saw this one. I forgot when it was posted, whether it was a week ago or a couple weeks ago. Playing with his food. It's a very interesting quote to say, especially because that's what a lot of people were saying, is that he was playing with, he was testing it out. And it kind of, as cool of a statement that sounds, it kind of makes you sound like a jackass, because you're in there fighting for, your paycheck, you're fighting for your life, you're fighting for the gold, bro. You're fighting for like the top dog of the world, and you're messing around and playing patty cake. Kind of makes you sound like a jackass. Kind of doesn't make the fighters, that legitimate fighters in the world, respect you at all, because it's just like, oh, you're just, you're not taking this seriously. Like, what you should do in there is go in there and prove that you're an absolute killer and dominate this dude from bell to bell and get him out of there as fast as possible. And then you can talk shit, and then you can say some cool shit after that. But when you say playing with your food, it's like, I can see why you would think that's a cool statement. But if you think about it, it's really like, oh, this dude's just being a clown. Like, all right, I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I agree with the sentiment. You know what I'm saying? I agree with the sentiment of him saying time to return what's mine. I'm not going to play around and any of that good stuff. But I also do think that it downplays a little bit of like the championness that he was. So like you were saying, man, it's like, you're the champ, but you never saw GSP play with his food. You never saw John Jones play with his food. You know what I'm saying? You saw them go out and take what's theirs and then call it a day. Then you could talk all you want on Twitter after, but you can't sit there and knee somebody in the head illegally. You know what I'm saying? And then just playing with my food. It's like, come on, bro, what are we talking about? Nonetheless, I think that this is just building up a little more steam, because now Aljamain Sterling is sitting here and he's like, yeah, man, I'm the champ. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's proudfully, or like a lot of pride in there. He's sitting there, he's claiming that thing. I'm the champ. And I'm like, dude, you got kneed in the head. It's like the Olympics when the dude in karate got kicked in the head and knocked out, and then he wins the gold because the referee deemed the dude who knocked him out, said, oh, you used too much force in your kick. You know what I'm saying? It's almost the same sentiment. It's like, are you really the gold medal winner? No, you're not. Not in your heart. You know it deep down in your heart. And I think some of that will come out to the surface come fight night when they do the rematch. You know what I'm saying? But it's a build-up, man. It's a build-up. So next thing I got on this one, UFC fighter, UFC flyweight, Juancamilo Ronderos has been suspended 9 months by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and fined a total of $2,245.36 after testing positive for both marijuana and cocaine. Now, my question to you, AJ, is I understand them talking about cocaine and all of that good stuff and why you should be, suspended and all that. But why do you think they included marijuana in this headline? I'm just a little confused, because I thought we're not worried about that anymore.
That's what I thought. I thought the basically not only the UFC, but like blanket corporations in general stopped worrying about marijuana testing. So it's very interesting, especially because it's only 2 Gs. Mm-hmm. That's kind of crazy too, that they're only finding him 2 Gs. So I don't know. That's weird. I don't understand it.
So my other question on this here, though, is I just wanted your opinion, because I don't know where I draw the line on this one. In competition, doing coke, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that, right? Like in the fight. But in your training camp leading up to it, do you think how could that be a performance enhancing drug in the lead up? Not on fight night, but in the lead up.
I think it'd be a little bit more of a performance hindering, maybe, it does give the heart rate up, and I've gone in a lot of fights on cocaine, so I can totally see how that would help. Maybe the mentality aspect, but honestly, I think it'd be more of a hindrance going forward. It definitely is an amphetamine, so it does, get the heart racing, the blood flowing, kind of gets you in that mindset, and your energy's peaked to the max. But it's interesting. Yeah, I don't see how it helps the fight night, like let's say Peds does. You're doing the CEO of whatever. I just botched that statement, but you're doing some performance enhancing drugs throughout. I can see how that would help out that fight of the night. But if you're doing cocaine, it's basically out of your system in a couple of days. So it's not like, unless he was railing, lines right before, like the day before, then maybe. But I don't know. I think it's pretty non-consequential.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I guess the other question to me to ask, and this is just what I think overall in general, is like, are you surprised? Like MMA fighters, these are bad boys. These are people on the edge who don't want to get a normal 9 to 5. Like, you surprised they're doing like coke and smoking weed and shit? Like that should come to no surprise at all. That should be like weaved within the fabric of what is happening. I know they want to like downplay it or like rebrand to say, no, these aren't fighters. These are just martial artists. But you have martial artists in the UFC, but then you also got a lot of dudes who are just fighters. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about that one, but I guess we could move on. The last thing that I have before we get out of here is that we had a couple of bouts announced for UFC 258 that is happening in New York, Madison Square Garden, man, which would be really interesting. That is November 6th, I believe, when that's happening. So it's headlined by Kamaru Usman defending his welterweight championship against Colby Covington, the rematch, man. So, I mean, first off, what do you think about that, AJ?
Woo! I am not a Colby Covington fan of the persona. But he is a hell of a fighter. You cannot take that away from him. He gave Kamaru probably the hardest fight he's ever had, and I think this one's going to be an absolute banger. Don't be surprised if we see a rubber match here, folks. It's going to be fun. This one's, bro, oh man, yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and I think even overshadowing that a little bit is something that comes to surprise to me personally. It makes sense because Dana White explained it, but the next matchup that is huge that got announced is Rose Namajunas defending her strawweight championship against Carla. No, just kidding. Weili Zhang, man, the rematch. So Magnum gets a second crack at her belt after she got knocked out in just like, what was it, a minute or something like that in the first round of the first fight, man. But some people are very surprised because this is supposed to be Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza literally beat Yan Xiaonan for the right to fight for the title, and then Dana White explains it by saying, this is going to be our first time back in Madison Square Garden. We want to put on a show. I think that says everything that needs to be said. He's basically saying Esparza's kind of a boring fighter. We want to put on a really good fight, so we're going to put Weili Zhang in there instead. Give me your take on that, AJ.
Makes sense business-wise. I wanted to see the rematch, to be honest. I wanted to see Weili Zhang go at it again. I think it was a great fight. We're going to see some fireworks coming up. I'm always nervous for a Rose rematch. Always. Literally. I'm a Thug Rose supporter since day one, and I'm always nervous when she rematches girls, especially since she got dropped in her head that one time. But you gotta feel bad for Carla Esparza. Like, it's rough because she's an absolute killer in there. She's so dominant on the ground game, but it sucks that what you're so dominant in is the crux of why you're not getting the shine. Rough to see, man.
I agree. And so for these next ones, just give me a very quick take because I got one last little thing that I wanted to surprise you on before we get out of here. So just give me very quick takes on these ones. Frankie Edgar versus Chito Vera just got announced for UFC 268. Give me your take on that.
Interesting. I didn't see this one coming. I got Cheeto, surprisingly. I got Cheeto on this one. It's going to be fun.
I think that'll be a fun one. Lots of knees, a lot of clinches. I think that'll be a fun one. GDR, Jermaine Durandamy, excuse me, man. We haven't seen her, the Iron Lady, in action in a little bit. But she faces off against number 4 ranked Irene Aldana in the women's bantamweight division. Give me your take on that.
The Iron Lady swinging with a lady who literally carries iron in her hands. Woo! This one's going to be fun. It has Fight of the Night written all over it, especially in a women's match, man. It's going to be a great time to watch.
Absolutely. Raging Al Iaquinta makes his long-awaited UFC return against Bobby King Green, who was just in action. I mean, literally, he just fought like 2 weeks ago, right? You know what I'm saying? But he's about to be right back in there. Give me your take on that one.
This is going to be fun. I'm excited to see. I think this is a good match for Bobby King Green. I'm excited to see how Al Iaquinta comes back in this one. It's going to be an interesting one to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about Al Iaquinta is he had some knee injuries or something going on. So I'm glad to see that has definitely, we've gotten past that a little bit. And then you don't even got to comment on these. I'm just going to announce them and then we'll get into the last piece of business. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler will be taking place. So it looks like either Chandler got the vaccine or whatever because they're requiring him to get the vaccine. He's a very notable, doesn't want to take it and whatnot. So it's interesting to see how the politics of that is playing out. But it looks like he will be there on November 6th. So shout out to that. Banger of a fight as well. Sean Strickland versus Luke Rockhold. So, Sean Strickland said, he was like, I'm going to see you at RBCA. I'm going to smack the shit out of you for talking shit. So you're either going to fight me or we're going to do one of these things. So that'll be a banger. And it looks like that's all of them that were announced, man. So the last thing that I got, folks, because AJ, this obviously our audio drops same day. Video comes out on Monday. Tune in Mondays and Fridays as always, folks. But that means that tonight, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley is going down. So that means that I need an official prediction from you on wax, on record. Who gets it done, how, why, and what will be the implications resulting? What do you got?
Woo! I have Tyron Woodley getting the KO, second round. I think it's going to make it out of the first. I think Jake's going to make it out of the first, but I got a KO. And like Tyron said, that's on Mama Woodley. She's an absolute gangster too. You don't disrespect the Mama Woods out there, brother. Who you got and why?
I'm going deeper. Tyron Woodley, KO, round 1. I think that right hand lands on the button. Jake Paul gets doe eyes, you know what I'm saying? Deer in the headlights. Start to say, I've never been hit with a right hand as ferocious, as vicious. Listen, man, when you're putting down Robbie Lawler, when you're putting down Josh Koscheck, when you're putting down all Darren Till, people like to forget about that one. Darren Till ran into a right hand from hell that put his ass down. Listen, man, if Tyron Woodley gets knocked out, if he loses this fight, I don't know what the hell. I might have to stop watching MMA, dog. Like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, we might have to retire the show. Like, goddamn. Like, it'll be the Jake Paul takeover. So, knock on wood that doesn't happen. But I will say TKO, round 1, Tyron Woodley. Let's get it done. I want to put an end to the nonsense that is the Jake Paul saga. Though I will say he has been doing some good things for fighter pay in the UFC, bringing a spotlight and all that. But I'm tired of the antics. I'm tired of the nonsense. But I guess we still gonna watch anyway. So that's it for us, folks. Tune in tonight, you know what I'm saying, to see Tyron Woodley put on the show. But that's the news wire, folks. So once again, drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Clearly, we got Brunson versus Till coming up next week. We'll talk about that stuff clearly on Friday. So like I said, Mondays and Fridays, 8 a.m. Tune in. And last thing before we get out of here, AJ. Friendly reminder that this episode is brought to you by The Bookie, your sharp sports betting friend that sends you an email each day full of free picks, tips, tools, and strategies that you need to know for the day's games. I say it every time, man. I get daily emails from The Bookie recapping the previous day's games full of informative stats that will not go over your head. That has been a keynote, a key line. The foundation of why I like this stuff is because I'm not into baseball like that, but when I want to put my bets, I need to know what's going down, and they give me stats that I can actually use. They provide head-to-head matchup trends, all the good stuff. Am I right, AJ?
Folks, you want the insider information, you want the low-key news that everybody's winning money off of, you go check out thebookie.co. They got the line over there, as well as leave us a comment, leave us a subscription, bro. You know where to go. It's all on the screen right there. Derick's done an amazing job. Yeah, you already know, folks.
You know what time it is. So if you were a sports fan and you like to make money like me, like my guy AJ, like the whole entire Buddy Water podcast team over here, sign up for the Bookie newsletter at www.thebookie.co. That is THEBOOKIE.co. And just for one last time, I'm going to move out of the way so you can see it. Or actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to move it up. This is what I'm going to do. Bow, thebookie.co. You dig, folks. But it looks like that's it for us. Drop a like, subscribe. We said it a million times. We're going to say it a million more till you do it. You dig. Each and every week we here. All right, AJ, we're going to do it again on Friday, big dog. Until next time, folks. Peace.